What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Today, I'm here with John of Casa Verde here in Las Cruces. Thanks for joining me, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
I have no problem, man. Anytime. Thank you for joining me. I'll have you introduce yourself in 1 second. But first, I got to pay the bills and thank all my sponsors. First off, thank you so much to Monster House, where we're sitting right now here in the Edgar Allan Poe corner, I like to call it. A beautiful consumption lounge, one of the only one here in Las Cruces. They have a bunch of events that they're going to do. And actually, August 30th, they're going to have Dizzy Locks down here, and I guess you're gonna be hanging out doing some dabs and stuff. I'm not sure. So 4 to 8, they're gonna have him. Then 8 to 11, they're gonna have the Era show. So I'm not too sure what's going on with that, but I think there are some free dabs or a free dab shot involved. So come on down and check it out and everything. You know, it's one of the only place in town you can come and literally just buy a dab. Yeah, it's pretty sick. So thank you so much for Monster House. Thank you to Cinder Cannabis here in Las Cruces and Turquoise Bloom. Thank you both so much for your contributions to the show. It keeps us going, keeps us roaring, and you know, Gino's got a bunch of new toys to play with. So thank you guys so much. And John, thank you, like I said, for joining the show. And for all my guests out there, I've had you on the show before, but could you please just give a good introduction of yourself?
Yeah, my name is John. I'm one of the 3 founders of Casa Verde here in Las Cruces. We actually just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, so we've been serving Las Cruces for just a little bit over a year now. We plan to serve for a lot longer, and just want to say I appreciate everyone who has shown us even a little amount of support. It's been great. We've been received very well by the community, and yeah, we're happy to be here.
Nice, man. Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, and thank you. And yeah, congratulations on the year.
Thank you.
I think you guys were around maybe couple of months when I interviewed you the last time, or maybe like 2 months or a month. You guys
baby still.
And I think you guys had just opened, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we did it in like September or something, and we opened in August.
Yeah. I remember. I was like, it was really like right after you guys had opened. You know, you were on the show. Because back then I used to, once a month get people on, and then wait till the next month. Now I'm just like, I'm doing it all 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, that's crazy. So. Luckily, you know, I get people on ahead of time and everything, so I appreciate you know, joining me. So, for everyone out there and everything, you know, where are you from and all that? You know, give us a little more background on you. Where are you from? What's your experience with cannabis and everything too?
Yeah. So, all 3 of us were from Southern California. We moved out here about 2 years ago. I actually have my family's from Albuquerque, so I've been coming to New Mexico for a long time. Yeah. So I have a small lay of the land. Not saying I can know Las Cruces too well, but I've always liked New Mexico, and I always had like a vision. I'd be like driving through Albuquerque, like seeing my parents, and I'd see like some like empty lots. I'm like, man, I feel like that'll just be a really nice dispensary one day. Yeah. And I always had the vision that like once New Mexico legalized cannabis, I thought I'd have some type of playing part out here. I didn't know when it was going to be, but it was just divine timing when the market opened up. It was really accessible for us to move out here and for us to open up our own business. So it's been really nice. You know, we always had the dream for that. So yeah, that's
nice.
Sorry, I feel like I rambled a little bit on something.
No. By all means, you know, I asked you the question, and you went in deep with it. So I appreciate it. Yeah. You know, that's great. So I was going to ask you this too. You know, what really drove you to start in the cannabis industry in the first place? You said you're from California, so I know you have that prior experience from cannabis. Yeah. We spoke about it before.
I'll be honest. I feel like some things are meant to happen. Some people get lucky. Some people have to work a little harder for it. I was having a really bad day at work. I was like 18 years old. I was working at Walgreens, and I went to my favorite dispensary that I'd always shopped at. And the bud tender, who at the time I didn't know was the owner of the shop, could tell I was having a really bad day. And he asked me how I was feeling. I was like, I'll be honest, I hate my job. Yeah. And at that time, they just happened to need employees. He's like, why don't you go fill out a application right now? And I filled it out that day, and he hired me the next day. So it was just really good timing. So I've been working in the industry since 2010. I feel like I've worked almost every position available except for like a lead cultivator. Yeah. So I started as a bud tender. I did assistant management roles. I've done purchasing, done distribution, lab work. So I've worked pretty much every part of the industry to lead us to this point. And same with my business partners as well. We're pretty well-rounded in that. So yeah, California was good to us, but I like New Mexico a lot more because I think it's more accessible for someone like a small business owner to be able to get started, because anyone with a dream in California, unfortunately, just can't do it unless you take out, 50 investors and you sell your soul and you have a whole board of people. It's like out here, we were able to, start on pretty much nothing and be able to create something. Yeah, it's been great.
And that's the beauty of the New Mexico market is, it's really for the entrepreneur, and I get it, things flood, but it's starting to stable out, and the real entrepreneurs will be here at the end of the day. We've seen just on your road alone. I mean, how many closures were there? About 4 or 5?
We've had 4 or 5. Yeah. We've also had 2 or 3 open up in the same time.
Yeah.
But like, what you're saying is true. It's like, with every good comes bad. So of course, having easy access and easy entrance into a market is going to be great for the people who are supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But also that's going to attract people who are probably not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So it's going to bring in an equal amount of suitors that are trying to get a piece of the pie. But I think that everyone has to remind themselves that success doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And most things, like most great businesses and most great things people build, does take a lot of time, and usually the time makes it better. So we're happy to be here and kind of work out the grind. And I know we'll be serving Las Cruces in New Mexico for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. You guys, you told me last year when you guys came to town, you just fell in love with the area and everything, and what it had to offer. Because you said you didn't really come down this way very often, right?
No, I'll be honest. Yeah, so I have most of my experience is Albuquerque, and then we're thinking about opening a business, and I'm like, no offense to anyone that lives in Albuquerque, but first off, it's way too flooded.
Yeah.
And the culture, it's a little crazy down there. They got a lot of a lot of crime down there. So we honestly just chose the second biggest city in New Mexico. We're like, let's go check out Las Cruces.
Yeah.
And we fell in love with it so quick. Just from the little things, like with how nice the people are.
Yeah.
I've never experienced kind of like just like camaraderie between people who live in the city. I come from such a high populous city that's like there's just not really like the random guy on the street's not going to help you out, or like there's not a neighborly feeling. Out here I felt it like almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of the biggest draws to us here. Was like, wow, they really kind of like take care of their own down here.
Yeah, for sure. Like the locals really, embrace each other, really try to help, especially in the same industries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing that's different from us with all. And don't get me wrong, we have the infighting just like anyone else with certain, places and people. But for the most part, yeah, it's mostly trying to help each other. It's just, things happen sometimes, and you get the businesses, like you said, there's people that are here that probably shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, some of those people are getting weeded out now, thank God.
Yep.
But there are some that have been here for a long time that are getting weeded out too, that you're just like, oh, that sucks. But that goes with it, that comes with the whole thing.
Everyone's got pride. No one wants to let it go.
Yeah.
So I understand that part. But it's like, I feel like most people, like I wouldn't jump into like a restaurant business because I don't cook and I don't know how to run one. So it's like, of course, I have ambitions, but I think you need to get yourself into a zone where you feel comfortable. And luckily, all three of us have a lot of cannabis experience. So, we were able to make it work so far.
Yeah. Your prior cannabis experience really helped you, here, I'm sure you noticed that things are different here, but, it helps you because you have that prior background. I mean, they don't even use the same tracking system in California, so, I mean, you had to learn something totally new, but you knew that it had to happen. Like I knew I had to use this tracking system because where I came from.
Yeah.
Like that's a no-brainer. Everywhere you go, there's a tracking system.
Yeah. Once you get used to compliance, then it all makes sense. It's not like a big scary thing. It is very scary. Like when you're first coming out of like a gray market into a new market, you're like, damn, like these guys are watching everything we do. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to serve safe medicine to people and safe products to people. And that's really why it's there. Yeah. Of course, you want to make sure you keep out the out-of-state stuff, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure, like, say if XYZ farmer had a moldy batch of flower and it's not safe for people to smoke, you want to be able to see where all this transfer went, pull them back from the retails and pull them back from the sources. So there's obviously a great purpose to it. Yeah. I just don't think the companies doing them are doing them right.
I agree, and I think the state of New Mexico agrees too, because last year they had a bill, or the year before, I think it was last year, they had a bill to get us a new tracking system or to even create one here in the state. And I think there are a couple of businesses doing that now as I speak. They're creating their own, more user-friendly, which is great. It's New Mexico made, New Mexico grown, so we get better access to when we need help.
Yeah, when I call BioTrack, it's like some dude in Florida.
I'm
like, I need you to understand, what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, and like he's one of the guys that helped create the program. That's why he's so
nice
helpful.
guy. He's a nice guy. But,
he helps a lot of people in the state. So I like it. But for some reason, BioTrack is just very daunting for a lot of people.
Because if we had an in-state, we could have town halls where they could meet at every big city that has a lot of cannabis commerce and listen to the operators, from the retailers to the manufacturers, the cultivators. Like, hey, what's working, what's not working? That'd be nice, because I think we don't need metric. I've used metric before, and that's equally as bad.
Yeah.
And it seems like they leave a big open door for bringing in out-of-state product, and then that's the kryptonite of every state.
Yes.
Is like, once things get competitive, people are looking for an advantage, and the thing is, like, it just cripples our industry. If the farmers don't make it, then no one makes it. So New Mexico farmers literally have to make it number one. That's like the most important thing. Yeah,
100%. Because if they don't make it, no one makes it, because that's where the industry kind of starts.
What am I going to sell?
Yeah, exactly. Hopes and dreams. You want a pamphlet about cannabis? 25 cents. Yeah, no, and I wanted to go back on this too, because you just told me you just came from Eastern New Mexico too. Now, did you get to check out any of the dispensaries out there or anything?
I'll shout out one dispensary actually. So I went and checked out Budboard.
Okay. Budboard. Yeah.
Love Budboard. I've always been a big fan of their flower. A couple of my buddies that own dispensaries in Albuquerque, they carry Budboard. So I want to go check them out while I was in Carlsbad, and they have like this like little cool like dentist office style dispensary that from the outside looks a little intimidating, like a little too small. You're like,
It's
oh
circular.
man, yeah. I'm
yeah.
like, what the hell are they gonna do with this place?
Yeah.
And I walked in. It's a small lobby, and then you walk into the whole like area where they sell, and it's like it's super vibes.
Yeah.
Like they just have it done really well. It's very unique, which I think is something that's very hard to accomplish today in cannabis, is being unique, because everyone follows a cookie cutter type of formula. So they have like 2 little nooks that are like the same products in there, and they're all kind of lit up like you're going to like a little cave. And I really enjoyed my experience. They carried all the rosin that I like, the flower I like. They grow their own flower, so shout out Budboard.
Yeah, yeah, shout out to Budboard over there. Great. I've visited it before. In eastern New Mexico. It was real cool. Yeah, a little circular building. You're like, whoa. You like turn you're like, it's like everywhere I turn, there's weed.
Yeah, and that's a working town.
Yeah,
like I'm looking, like I love trucks, and I'm like, every single truck that's driving by has a welding unit on it, and it's like they're working out there. So it's a cool little town.
Yeah, it's an interesting area. I grew up in Alamogordo, so we spent a lot of my youth playing sports on that side of the state.
Pecos River is beautiful.
Yeah, Pecos River, gorgeous. Always wanted to go fishing there. Never got the chance.
Yeah.
They do every Christmas, I guess, like a float thing where they have like a bunch of lights on the river and everything, and it's a real big thing over there. So I always wanted to check that out, but it's just too damn cold for me to go out. Yeah, no, I wanted to ask about that because you have experience now up north, Cruces. Now you're expanding over to the Carlsbad area. Like I just wanted to.
We want to go a little more up north because we're a small company, so like bandwidth is obviously pretty tight.
Yeah.
So when we make trips, we got to really plan them. So majority we get a lot of stuff in like Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Espanola. But I really want to like make a trip up to like places off like the Animas River, and go up to like Farmington and stuff like that. Like I want to check out some different parts of New Mexico, because we all got different terroirs here, and we all do different things. And I think I've noticed like it's all different everywhere we go. It's not like the same New Mexico everywhere. So it's like it's cool. So I want to see more of it.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of frustrates me about when I see content creation from Albuquerque, or just only Albuquerque content creators, because they're setting this precedence that all New Mexicans are this way. When I hear some of these people talk, I'm like, I have never said any of those things.
Like, it'd be like saying like LA is a good representation of California.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not. Like, there's beautiful parts of California. It's not like it's a crazy city all the time with like this crazy culture. It's New Mexico, honestly, to me is one of the most beautiful states in the United States. As far as like just driving anywhere on the 10 or any of these roads, it's a beautiful state.
And I hear everybody that comes here visits that says that. And to be honest, it's something that they can't control. And like, I've had people like, oh, I don't like the desert. I don't like this place. We'll come here like, man, it's really beautiful here. And like they catch themselves, like I didn't think I'd ever say that.
A lot of breathtaking like views I've seen here. I'm like just taking pictures while I'm driving the whole time. Like, God damn, like this is cool.
Yeah. Like here in Hawaii are like the two places where I'm like, is that real? If you're driving like from northern New Mexico coming down, you see the landscapes, you're like, it looks like a painting. Like, holy crap.
I mean, that's went to Carlsbad Caverns. That was crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, that's like nuts. Like you're going so deep in these damn caves. It's gnarly.
Yeah, and the temperature gets constant. And you're like, oh my God, I'm cold. It's like I went when I was younger, I think in the middle of July. It was like 98 degrees outside, and I needed to bring a hoodie because it was like 50 degrees in the cave. It doesn't matter the temperature outside; it's always a constant temperature down there. I wanted to stay for the bats because I love bats, favorite animal.
Never done it.
But I never got the chance to see them fly out because that would be something cool. I would just be afraid to get pooped on.
Do you know the story of like the guy that like discovered it was like walking around and he saw this massive black cloud outside the caves and like went inside of it?
No shit.
Yeah, like the 1800s. I'm like, what the hell? Like I'm like,
they were brave back then, man. They were just like, oh. Let's go.
With a rope and a lantern. Like I'm like, hell no. That's like every scary movie I've ever seen. I'm like,
that's the way it starts, right? He never came back. All they found was his rope. Yeah, but got a little off topic. I just wanted to talk about your travels and everything on eastern New Mexico because that was really interesting. I like to ask people, especially if they go to like Sunland Park or somewhere different than Cruces and Albuquerque. Even like somewhere like Roswell. Roswell's interesting because of the way the city council set up their, legalization stuff because they didn't start selling till like 4 months after everyone else did.
Oh shit.
Their city council didn't set anything up. And I think it was on purpose because they didn't want cannabis there. So now if you look at Roswell, a lot of them have like corporate companies, MSOs, or the ones that were there when it was medical. And there's really not that many mom and pops. Now it's starting to change slowly. But at the beginning it was weird. So you go to places like that, you're like, whoa, even driving through it. I'm sure you did you go through the oil fields at all?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you saw all the oil jacks and everything.
It's a trip.
That's weird, huh?
Yeah,
you're like, this is New Mexico?
Yeah, I've seen some very interesting parts. I like Ruidoso a lot too. That reminds me of like back home where you go through the mountains and like a bunch of nice trees and stuff. I love Ruidoso. Yeah,
Ruidoso. Yeah, I grew up, going fishing up there in the mountains, everything. Because Alamogordo is only like 30, 40 minutes from there. And dude, it's gorgeous up there. Smoking weed is fun up there. I love it. There's times where me and a friend would go hiking or something, and we'll find this beautiful view where you can see the Tularosa Basin and the white sands. Just like, let's smoke here. Like this is a good spot. So yeah, well, I'm glad you're exploring New Mexico a little bit more, man. A lot of people come here and they refuse to kind of explore, but there's so much to explore out here. And, you know, like you said, everything changes everywhere you go. The food changes, you know, everywhere you go too, you know, especially north to south. But yeah, so how has New Mexico's market actually changed? Let's get on that then. You know, we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, so this is my opinion. And so this is just like, you know, what I'm saying personally from my kind of perspective right now is I feel like New Mexico is getting close to hitting peak saturation. Mostly in the dispensary sector, because it's not like we have too much weed. We definitely have too many dispensaries. And I think that it's a slippery slope for the whole industry. Kind of what we were speaking about earlier is that when it gets to the point where there's too many dispensaries, there's only so much money to go around. So let's say like Las Cruces, you know, how much money Las Cruces makes doesn't matter if there's 40 of them or there's 500 of them. It's going to be the same amount of money that everyone's sharing. So ultimately, it's going to lead to a lot of failure. And I think what it leads to before the failure is people getting desperate. And what I see is a lot of dispensaries that want to do the race to the bottom. And I think it's very dangerous because the first person it truly affects is going to be the farmer, because the dispensary is going to do what they got to do to stay afloat. So that's self-preservation. The consumer, which is, we always care about the consumer the most. So they're getting the best deals. That's great. But if there's no farmer to give them weed, then that takes it back to the street. So the thing is that I don't want to see the price of cannabis go too low, where it becomes unsustainable for the farmer to grow it. Because then the small guys are not going to be here. The corporate guys that can wait for 5 years for the market to correct, they can play. And the reason why I like New Mexico more than like the California market is because the access it gave to the small farmer, the small manufacturer, the small dispensary. So being able to work with people that are growing an 8-light indoor grow or a 200 plant beautiful outdoor grow, like that's a we should be cherishing that, because it's not available in many states. Like you go to California, Michigan, Colorado, like they can't do this shit. We have a very cool opportunity to be able to support small farmers. And if it gets to the point where we're trying to do $1 joints and $5 eighths, then we're gonna be smoking corporate mids before we know it.
100%. And I'm with you on that 100%. Because I've seen it everywhere I go in the state. And, you know, to be honest, you know, I've seen a lot of states go through this, who go through legalization. They always have that race to the bottom point of their history, and that's where we are right now. And yeah, it's a lot of it's desperation. You know, people trying to bring people in. Oh, why aren't we getting this and why aren't we getting that? And a lot of it has to do with quality. Customer experience is a huge factor. You know, if you know you give someone the bad customer experience, they're not going to want to come back. You know, like if doesn't matter if it's from the time they walk in or when they get home and they were lied to, or they, oh yeah, this is a gram of some of the best stuff we got, and it's mostly stems and sticks, you know, sticks.
Especially when any consumer, doesn't matter if it's Las Cruces or Albuquerque, can pretty much just take a drive down any street and find a shop.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like you're like looking for them and there's like 5 options. Like, yo, you can literally like be like, all right, I don't like you, on to the next one. And it's like there's plenty of options. So yeah, customer service is huge, and that's any industry, but people forget that. It's like you got to be nice to your people.
Exactly, 100%. And the consumers are starting to get smarter too. You know, and that's another thing that these places are starting to forget, is that people get smarter, and as the consumers start to learn more, and as actually the bud tenders are pushing more of this great in like education and information to them, they're going to get smart and try other new things. You're like, well, I tried this last time, let me try something maybe a little bit more expensive from this place that they keep telling me about. And then they try, they go, oh my god, I love that.
And I like them getting smarter.
Yes, me too.
Want them
I love it,
because that holds everyone else accountable.
Yes, it
so
does.
Like now we can't peddle bullshit weed.
Yeah, exactly. You know, now I can't just be like, it has the highest THC, bro. You know, like now I can't do that, which is great. I love that too. You know, it holds everybody accountable. You know, it's just better for everyone. You know, you have less of that race to the bottom, because they're going to say $2 grams. You know,
what are we smoking? What are we? Why are we doing it? And I get there's a price for everyone, so it's not like they're like the cheap price point for cannabis is should be a bad thing, because everyone's got what they got.
Yeah, exactly.
But there needs to be a quality standard still to uphold. I just think that once we hit the bottom, it's not really else to go from there. So I think that it's a cumulative effort from all the dispensaries and all the different people working together, that we don't need to be fighting each other. We should just be like learning how to sustain a market and being able to provide value in a different way other than the cheapest price.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because everyone has this idea of, I want the cheapest and the bestest, but that doesn't always
That's what everyone
happen.
wants.
Yeah, they always want the cheap and the best, but it's like, you're going to get the cheap and maybe good, you know, but you're not going to get the best. You know, that's just the way it is. You know, you're not going to get a MacBook for, you know, a HP price,
Doesn't
you know,
happen.
from Walmart. I got Gino over here screaming at me. So, but yeah, you know, I appreciate that, because, you know, I like to ask people, you know, really where they see the industry going, and really, you know, how it's affecting them and everything. Of course, I do the town halls, you know, for the cannabis stuff around the state. And we're picking those up back again. We're going to be going to Farmington here soon in the next couple of months. Then after that, we're going to go to Santa Fe. Then after that, we'll be in Deming and then Silver City. And of course, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to be in Sunland Park in December. So yeah, it'd be great to have you there.
Hell yeah,
We'll try to
love
get
to.
here in Cruces sometime in between. I think we're going to go to Alamogordo too. I feel like it's another place that needs to be talked to because they have Highway 54 that goes right through the town, and then that's how you get to Ruidoso.
Mhm.
So you have all those Texans going up through there, so they get a lot of off-road traffic.
Yep.
You know?
Oh yeah, I drove through it today. It was cool.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting, isn't it? Welcome to Nuketown, like real Nuketown.
Dude, it's great.
If you guys don't know, Alamogordo's home, well, not home, but not very far from Alamogordo was Trinity site where they tested the first nuclear bomb in America or in the world. So a lot of nuclear jokes run around. Even when I was in the Army, I'd get them. So yeah, that's our claim to fame is the nuclear stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm radioactive, I guess. So let's jump over. Let's talk about Casa Verde a little bit.
Yeah.
We've been talking a little about the topics in you and everything, but let's get the shop. Let's talk about that. So where did the name come from? I know I asked that last year, but where did the name actually really come from?
Well, the name, I'll be honest, my wife came up with it.
Oh,
And it just resonated like very quickly, and we liked it. We're going for something that was going to kind of fit in with like a mountain town, and we kind of already had an idea of kind of what the logo we wanted to go with. So we went for Casa Verde, and we kind of have like a cool like Red Dead Redemption style like map logo.
Yeah.
It's on
your shirt.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, the wife made it, and we liked it a lot, and I feel like it definitely fits us really nice.
Yeah, it does. And everything,
Yeah.
especially with the sand color.
Yeah.
We had similar colors when I was in the Army. Actually, when you gave me the shirt, and I was like, this is funny. I could have worn this when I was in the Army because it's like within the red
Yeah.
colors. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is like
Neutral's
exactly
good.
the same.
Neutral's good too. It's
Yeah,
a good look.
neutral is a good color. You're right. Yeah, you get harassed less from certain people. So how have things been the last year or so since you've been opened up? Give us the update. Since the last time.
I mean, it's been great. We've been consistently doing our customer appreciation days every month. So that's on the 20th every month. We throw a customer appreciation day. Pretty self-explanatory. We appreciate our customers, and I've said that many times that we really do appreciate our customers. So we want to throw them some type of little party once a month. And I think I just felt like a one grand opening just once. Or like random holidays here and there. I just think it wasn't good enough. So we wanted to throw something consistently for our customers so they know that like one day out of the month, we appreciate them every day, but just a little extra that day. Want to give them some free food. Want to get them a chance to meet all their vendors and be able to sample product and just kind of like to see what's up.
Nice.
So we've been doing that consistently. We've been very blessed to be able to stay open for over a year now. We just hit the 1 year mark. And we're trying to do as many public events as possible. I think that's kind of where it's at right now. And we like to meet more people and try to do any event, even if it's a non-cannabis event. We want to show up to anything.
Yeah.
And we think we bring a pretty good vibe where we're going to start doing all the football tailgates,
Cool.
not in the student section, but we're going to be doing it in the like alumni section and like the just like regular people who would join.
Yeah.
We'll be having like a little like Casa Verde lounge, and we'll be giving out like free hot dogs and coupons for cannabis to come into our store, and maybe I'll get like a dunk tank or something like that. Like just gotta do some fun stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now we want to do as much as we can with the community.
Yeah, that's dope. That's
Yeah.
great that you guys are doing that because the NMSU just released their new tailgating rules and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's interesting. I remember going to them back in the days when I was like 21.
Yeah. I like
going to
football,
those.
so we're gonna try to keep
Yeah.
it fun.
That dope. Yeah, I love football too.
Yeah.
I was sitting here in Monster House and they have new screens. I was like, oh, you guys gonna
Looking
show
nice.
games? So that's cool, and it's great that you guys do the customer appreciation thing because not many places actually appreciate customers or
Yep.
even tell them that they appreciate them. So once a month, they get to be appreciated.
Yeah, people like to feel nice, and
yeah.
I feel it's a lot easier to be nice than to be mean. So we just try to get back when we can, and I know they appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. Because some places like you go in and it's like, what do you want? Get out.
Yeah.
Like not like how's your day? How you been? This and that. What you're looking for? Blah blah blah. So it's great that the little personableness of it is added in there and everything. So what new products do you have in the shop now? You had to have new products.
Yeah, yeah. It's very hard. I think it's very hard to be innovative these days in cannabis.
Yeah.
But we're always looking for new farmers and new people to work with. I would say the newest product we've had in our shop is a farmer from Ruidoso that we've been working with. They're called Turquoise Cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
They're a small grow, and they're a micro actually. They have a dispensary in Ruidoso, and they grow probably some of the nicest flower I've smoked here in New Mexico.
Oh, good.
They're like really like passionate about like pheno hunting.
Mhm.
They also have a rosin lab.
Yeah.
So that's been like one of my coolest new like products and brands we've been working with is
Cool.
Turquoise Cannabis.
Yeah.
We just love to see, and we love to see a small group that grows organically in soil and just has that passion that you would see. It just brings kind of like life back to cannabis when you see someone that passionate. You're like, all right, cool. Like we're still here. Like we're still doing a good thing. Like we haven't lost it yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been my favorite recently.
Dope.
Other than that, I think it's like I said, it's very hard to be innovative. I I think I've been seeing a lot more microdose edibles. So, we're seeing people are liking the 5 milligram doses. Also, one of my favorite things that have been kind of hitting the market recently has been the single 100 milligram. I think for edible usage, especially me personally, I don't want to eat like 20 gummies to get high.
Yeah.
So now you have companies like Smokies. You have, I think, Young Clouds is about to come out with one, where it's a little gummy about this big. That's 100 milligrams.
Yeah.
And eat less sugar, less gummy.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the hot thing right now. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. A single dose.
Jemmies too. That's a Las Cruces brand.
Oh, no.
From
Okay.
Higher Culture.
Okay. And that's great because some people need the 100 milligram and some people need the 2.5 or the 5 milligrams. I like microdosing sometimes. Like the one time I do like lower dosages if it's something like a Skittle or like a popcorn. I want it to be lower doses because that's something meant to eat. A lot. You're not meant to eat like.
When you need a 100 milligram Skittle, you're like, dang, you're good.
Yeah, it's like, well, shit. 100 milligram little cookie like this, well, hell yeah, all day.
Yeah.
So I get you on that, and I like that because one thing I have always disliked about edibles is the fact that they're so sugary. Like we have so many edibles that just are packed in sugar. There's so many other items we eat in our life and daily that are just snacks even that we could go to. It's one of the easiest things that you can turn it into, et cetera, et cetera. But, there's other options out there. You don't have to just rely on the candy.
I think it's like if we're talking like purely recreational use, like small, if you're actually dosing 10 milligrams at a time and you're eating a very sugary edible, that's great. But if you have like a medical user who's eating maybe say a couple 100 milligrams or 500 milligrams and they're also ingesting 100 grams of sugar, that's not good. Because that's very counterproductive. It's not good if they're trying to fight cancer. Sugar is not good for cancer. So it's like those type of things. I think we need to kind of like get away from that. It slowly. Everyone likes candy. That's great, but we need to definitely not have massive sugar content with our THC.
Yeah, 100%. And we're kind of shifting towards drinks. I've noticed, that the drinks are becoming more prominent, which is great. I think that'll help us even further with the killing of the stigma. It's less offensive. No one can complain. Most likely they're drinking too, but something else. So and it's just easier to conceal, easier to be out and wherever with it. And then you have the option of adding like a little shooter to it. Like a little packet that goes into it, and you got to mix infused drink now. You don't have to worry about anything else. So I kind of feel that. It's just one of those things that it's slowly changing, and we're just in time.
The drinks are cool. I think especially now that most people are using nano amplified. Didn't like about drinks is like people that use drinks usually are trying to imitate like a beer or alcohol effect, and it's like no one would drink alcohol if you had a beer and then it hit you an hour later. It's like you'd be driving out and like, oh, I'm drunk now. So it's like now that they're putting nano amplified oil into the drinks, that's like, all right, drink it. You feel it in 5 to 10 minutes. That makes sense.
Yeah, like, exactly. Cool. 100%. And I've heard the same thing. And, I agree with that because when you do drink, something you're trying to replace with alcohol, especially if you're an alcoholic or something, you expect it to kind of hit you the same way. And with the nanoemulsification, if you guys don't know, with the technology, you're essentially just breaking the molecules or the particles down smaller and smaller so that way they absorb quicker into your body. Instead of waiting 30 minutes to an hour, it's like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes even quicker, depending on metabolism, all that good stuff. I'm excited to see where that goes too, because, you have the 2 grams, you have the 5 milligrams. Now, in a consumption lounge setting like this, I kind of feel when it comes to drinks, you don't want people greening out. So if you want to go home and drink 100 milligram, cool, we'll drink. But at the consumption lounge, you're probably going to get max 20.
That makes sense because you just don't know because everyone's experience is different in public. So it's like, of course, I can eat a massive amount of edibles and smoke a lot in my house, but if I went to a public setting, it'd be a way different experience. I think so. Take out the variables.
And you got to ease yourself into something like that. You don't want to just jump in and be like, oh, crap, now I got to get home somehow.
Get me out of here.
Uber, where are you?
You're like on Uber Eats the whole time. Like,
I was on the wrong app. I got a burrito, though. So a little positive from it. What other events do you have going on coming up, maybe?
Let's see. What are we coming up? We are going to, hopefully we should be a part of the state fair coming up.
Okay.
Definitely a state fair. We got hopefully approval to be able to do that. Like we're not gonna be smoking there, just kind of giving out like coupons that's kind of showing up. We're gonna be doing the tailgates, and we're gonna try to be at the Harvest Wine and Music Festival, which is coming up in a couple of days.
Good. That's great to hear. I was working with the lady from the fairgrounds months ago this year, and she was talking about having cannabis businesses there, just to informational stuff, set up a booth. There'd be no consumption. And I think that's a great way to ease into it because you see places like California where they just successfully had consumption at their state fair.
So jealous. Like after I leave, I'm like, oh, now you guys are selling weed at the state fair.
I
Like,
was like, oh, great. Yeah, thanks. The weird thing about it is they only had one company selling their weed there, which I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. You know,
it
like,
definitely seems like it's almost like monopolized, where it's like whoever like the highest bidder is pretty much is going to get it. So that kind of sucks. Where it's like, all right, you got to get
start somewhere.
Yeah.
Better
than nothing though. It's cool that it's access. I think you'll get to a point where like they have like processors where you can go into a weed garden and you can have different vendors and stuff. And hopefully New Mexico does that. I would love to see that.
I think we're on the verge of it because I think they see what's going on, especially with the illegal events that happen in the state, and then like they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
It might as well give us a legal route to go about consuming and having these events and have sales at these events. Like, why not?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think because that was what keeps people longer at events.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to go smoke weed eventually.
Yeah.
So it's like they're going to get to the point where it's like 2 or 3 hours, like time to go smoke.
Yeah.
Or you want to have everyone smoke in their car. That's stupid. So it's like giving an easy access to it definitely needs to happen.
Yeah. And if you have a place like here in Las Cruces where the fairgrounds is, it's out of the city.
Yeah.
Like nowhere near like any housing really. So, I mean, if you have a cannabis event out there, no one's going to be bothered.
No.
There's not going to be any issues. I mean, they already allow smoking and vaping at most events outside anyway.
Yep.
So, what's the difference you're adding cannabis?
You see at Green Bay Packer games, they can smoke Delta 8 now?
That's cool, huh? That's dope as shit. And then they're allowing like Delta 8 drinks at certain other sporting events.
Delta 8, Delta 8.
Yeah, that's all there, buddy. Can you prove it? Yeah,
no
here's
nine.
the bottle. Switched it, whatever. Yeah, so that's cool. I think that's dope. But it goes back to the drinks again. If you had the cannabis drinks, you wouldn't have to worry about any of that stuff. Like no one would be offended or whatever. But I get it. There's people who love smoking cannabis. I love smoking cannabis. I love it. I enjoy it. Will I always smoke cannabis? I don't know. But it is something I do like enjoying. I feel one day we'll be at a point where drinks will be the number one, and of course smoking will be under that. Smoking will never go away.
No.
It's just we did a really good job in the 90s of making it the devil. And so now we're kind of running into issues with it, even
if it's clean weed, we're not supposed to be smoking.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't matter like how clean the stuff is. Like anything going into our lungs is like not supposed to be there.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. And that's every doctor I've talked to has agreed with that and said the same thing. And I can't disagree with it. I can't sit here and say that it's great for you because many other studies back up to say differently. So we'll get to the point where we'll figure this industry out. We're at the very beginning of it. Like we're at the historical point. This whole thing is all historical. Everything we're doing now, this podcast, you in your shop, New Mexico, the way we went about it. We're one of the few states that went through the legislature to legalize cannabis. I mean, that's pretty historical. It's one of the only ways we can do it anyway. But it's still historical stuff going on. So, it's great that, we were here at this time right now. 20 years from now, when my nephews are consuming with me,
we're smoking 85% THC flower that's dripping in rosin.
And they're bringing me 6 packs over of 50 milligram drinks or something like that. Like, here, Theo Chad. So we'll see what next 20 years. And the next generation kind of takes over the industry.
This is cool, man. We're definitely on the front line. It's very it's like everyone in the industry from any point pretty much is very courageous for doing this because at one point it really was a stigma. Now it's to the point where now people know they can make money off it. So now it's like, oh no, forget the stigma. We love weed now. We're all about weed. So it's funny how that works.
Exactly. It's great when you make money on it and you see how much money it is. And how much the want is. It's crazy because we went from a time where cannabis is bad, you're going to live by the river, to where cannabis is great. And to be honest, living by the river sounds fun.
Well, now actually you have to be rich to live by the river.
That's true.
You got to be a millionaire. If you want to buy a van and live by the river, it's not cheap.
It's not. No, you're right. Like you see all these TikTokers and stuff with like these nice little vans and stuff. They paid a lot of money for those. That wasn't cheap.
Times change, man.
Yeah, times did change. We're living by the river is like, that sounds nice. I just remember that Chris Farley skit back in the day from SNL. So last time I saw you and had you in here and everything, I even went to the shop. It was just you and the owners that work there. So now you have some employees. So congratulations on moving up.
Nice.
That
feels good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So how many do you have?
We have 2 amazing employees.
Okay.
We have Nick, who's been with us probably since November of last year. He's amazing. And then we have Johnny. We're very, very lucky. They pretty much give the same experience that we're looking for. And that's the really hard part is like once you build something on your own and you've implemented your personality and you're just being a good person, like when you implement that into your business, it's very scary to let it go and to let someone else take the reins and be like, all right, like now when you talk to customers, I need you to give them hopefully as close to the experience that I was giving them as possible. And they do an amazing job at that. They're very attentive. They're very able to work with different types of personalities because that's also a thing is like, we have 50 different egos coming into a shop every day. That's just natural.
Yeah.
So you gotta be able to handle all these situations differently. And yeah, we're very blessed to have a great little employee squad. Hopefully,
Nice.
we want to bring on some more people in the future. We did just start delivery. It's every delivery starts a little slower, but once it starts picking up, we're going to hire on some delivery drivers and yeah, just keep moving up.
That's great. And I was wondering when, more delivery stuff would be added because, that's something that New Mexico added that not every state has.
Yeah.
Like delivery is huge,
Yeah,
for, especially for the people that are immobile, they can't, whatever.
Yep.
It's great. Or maybe you're just too high and can't get to the dispensary. You're too high.
Yeah, I think easy
So,
access is the way. I think there's still some variables we worked out into delivery. Like I like to see it go to like almost like a standardized type of like Uber Eats type of program, or like where it's like you see your driver, you see his history. Driver also knows exactly what he's getting into. So there's not like this like I'm just pulling up some guy's house selling weed right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is like still. And
Yeah.
it's like that's great. There's a trust factor. We authenticate and make sure like everyone is who they are.
Yeah.
But still, I like to see it just taking a little step cleaner where it's like all right, full trust.
Yeah.
It's all good.
100%, because eventually it's going to have to get to that route because right now the cannabis industry is so strict that it's overly strict.
Mm-hmm.
That we need to pull back a little bit. I'm not saying, free for all, but we do need to pull back just a little bit, because we've proven the fact that we can control and we can track cannabis seed to sell. All right, so now let's pull back on some of the stuff that is just a little doesn't need to be there. Let's cut the fat.
Yep.
Like this step here, we don't need that because no one does that, and that would make no sense. So let's get rid of it. Kind of like the steps in BioTrack.
Oh man, yeah, shit.
Going back to that, but
at
yeah,
least we're all trained now. So the good thing is like getting trained in over compliance is better than being under trained in compliance. So at least now we know what to do. And then once they kind of let the reins back a little bit, it'd be nice. Like, all right, this feels good now. Like it feels like a normal system where we're not scared or we don't like it's just. Yeah, that's what I get.
It's just another substance.
It's a middle ground.
Yeah, it's just another substance that we like to use, or it's a medicine, and that's the beauty about cannabis because you don't have a medical alcohol program. You don't have a medical tobacco program. You have a medical cannabis program, and we're mostly going to have rec on top of it. So that's something that's totally different from the rest, and that's why I keep telling people that cannabis is different. You can't treat it the same like the both,
We'll see how it goes when it goes fed, though, because now the feds are going to be like, oh, do we want to not make tax money on that?
Yeah,
for
exactly.
These med people?
Yeah. And to be honest, we'll get talking about that here very shortly.
Okay, cool,
we got a whole conversation on this. So keep that on there. I love the enthusiasm. So before we get on that conversation, where can people find you in real life and online?
You can find us always at 795 South Solano. Always 7 days a week. We're open from 9 a.m. to 10. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook, and we are on Weed Maps.
Awesome.
And Google. So
Google.
You can find us a lot of places. And definitely any public event, you always find us at. We're trying to do more of them this year, and starting in next year. So look out for us. You just a little black tent with Casa Verde.
Yeah. Look for the logo. I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe you should get a sand tent one day.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you get a little sand one.
Big dreams. Big dreams.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to continue this conversation on some other topics, man, but let's get on to it. So as I said before, we're going to be talking about the federal government and the feds and everything. So it looks like the DEA has updated us, and it looks like they've scheduled a date for a hearing. They're done with the public comments portion of this whole process, which there was over 40,000 comments. Good job, everyone. Let's shoot for 100,000 next time. I don't know if there'll be another next time, but if we have another opportunity.
40,000 for federal?
For federal,
Okay.
for the rescheduling.
Got it.
So they had a public comment period for the rescheduling stuff.
And this came from everyone in America? Like,
everybody in America. I commented on it.
40,000, we need more than that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, we need 100,000. We need 1 million.
Yeah.
That's not even 1% of the, not even close to 1% of the nation.
Yeah.
That commented on that. So it's important that we do that. I did it myself. I made the public comment. I made sure I put my piece. But it seems that a few people did request to have it in person public comment period, and it looks like the government is going to abide by it and allow that. What that does, though, is extends the period of their decision making. So the federal government was probably going to make a decision before the election. Now, with them granting us the public comment period in person, which it's going to be in Virginia, it's going to be in Arlington, Virginia. December 2nd, I believe. So you guys can go out there in person if you want. However, if you do go in person, you have to give them a notice, and I'll try to post that on my socials at some point, the documentation you guys need. You have to give them a 30-day notice that you're going to be showing up in person to this thing. So you guys have plenty of time, but don't wait till it's day 29 and then you're like, oh, I can't go, man. So try to do it before then. I know I do that sometimes myself, but usually I catch it the day before. But sometimes if it's really important, I will do it right away. if this right here is really important. I don't know if I can make it to Virginia. December's kind of a busy month for me and a lot of other people. So unfortunately, I don't think I can make that in December. Yeah, it's in December. December's a rough month.
Yeah, making like Christmas Eve, like, oh, no one shut up. Damn.
It's like, oh, you guys have a chance. New Year's Day. Oh, you shouldn't have been drunk last night.
They're gonna put it like on the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah, I know. Right? It's all in a basement. Yeah, that's what. Be ready for that too. But no, they have the address and everything where it's going to be. The only unfortunate thing about that is it's going to push back their final decision date, and it's probably going to go into the next administration. We're most likely not going to see anything until January, if not the spring, from them when it comes to this, because they're also going to have to review the public comment from this period too. So we'll have a couple of public comment periods that they're going to have to review, and then they make their decision from there.
Do you feel like they're really listening, or do you think they're just appeasing the people?
So the government has to, by law, read what we send them.
Okay.
And they have to at least look at it. So yeah, they have to go through every piece. Like even when you send your representative like an email or a call, they have to look at it.
Okay.
They can glance at it and then delete it, but they have to literally look at it. Or their aide has to take down the message and give it to them, and they have to look at it. So they have to look at what you're telling them. Do they have to act on it? No.
Yeah.
Do they have to do anything? No. But they do have to acknowledge you essentially that they saw it. Or they don't have to tell you they saw it, but they have to acknowledge you in some way and be like, okay, I saw this. I'm
just a skeptic that the government truly cares about cannabis, and I've always been a skeptic of the rescheduling, because I really don't feel like Schedule 3 does anything good for us.
It doesn't, and to be honest, our next topic will kind of clarify and confirm that there's certain things that aren't going to change whatsoever. And I agree with you with that. There's a few goods that come from it, but really what it is, it's a prohibition with perks.
Yep.
At the end of the day, and that's not good. I don't like that. And this whole time, I've been telling everybody, yeah, we want deschedule. We don't want reschedule. But at the end of the day, what are we going to get? We're probably going to get rescheduled.
Yeah.
So, where can we find the positive in this? While we still fight to deschedule, but at the same time, let's, stick with reality, what we have right now. Right now, we're kind of stuck with, rescheduling. And we're still fighting it. However, it looks like the government, I think they did kind of acknowledge the fact that there is a lot of people that would rather have rescheduling versus descheduling, because that's something that the public comments kind of show. They're like, oh, but of course you have those people that also want this to go in very quickly because they want to benefit from the Schedule 3 thing. So there's those people that are like kind of upset that the DEA is taking longer. For me, I'm kind of happy.
I'm pro cannabis research, so that's one thing. Like that's kind of where my big take out of all that is that like if it allows cannabis research, that's good, as long as that they don't block like data.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hey, turns out this shit's really good for you. Can't really tell that to the people.
Yeah. In the past? Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Yeah. Because it's not like, they don't have a history of doing it, because it's happened in the past many times. So no, I agree with you. Like I'm afraid of that too. And of course we have some congressional members, unfortunately on the Republican side, that are attacking cannabis right now, especially the rescheduling. They're attacking that using old reefer madness mindsets and, little tidbits of information that they got from 1940, but, it's 2024 and lots have changed. A lot has changed. And a lot of them are afraid that, this is going to have a negative social impact on our country and stuff. But to be honest, when we legalized alcohol, that's really one of the biggest impacts that, has harmed us is that. But cannabis has really never been the issue. It's just it gets the blame.
Who do you think is going to be the governing body to look over cannabis if they schedule it to 3? Because that's my only kind of fear out of all that is that, like, let's say it's going to take the power out of the CCD, and then it's going to go to like the DEA or something like that. And so if that becomes the case, and that's a little scary.
It is scary. But with Schedule 3 is kind of weird because it's going to be purely medical. So the Department of Health in New Mexico will preside over our program, but they report it to the federal government on their medical side. So we already have a program established. We already track the numbers. We already have an expiration date. We already have an expiration on your units. They reset. So all of the standards are there. For this is pretty much just handing it over to the federal government because they can tell the government how much has Chad Lozano bought last month. And they can tell them this is how much he's bought. Okay, how long has he been a patient? He's been a patient for this long. So all the information's there.
Take the data and they go, how much are people really smoking, or how many units are they smoking?
Exactly. We have all that data for them. We just send it to them. We don't have to set any new program up. We don't have to we're probably gonna have to change a couple things. I don't see it being something too crazy, but we will have to abide by certain federal guidelines and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be more on the medical side of our federal government versus like the DEA and all that. Of course, there's going to be some DEA we have to deal with because now you're dealing with a federally illegal substance, and it's still on the scheduling. but it's not going to be like it was, like once before, with certain things. Now, with other things, it's going to be totally different. I'll get with that on the next topic, kind of ties into this. I just want to finish updating everybody on the Schedule 3 thing, because, it is important that we speak up, because that's, essentially where our voices are really heard, is with something like this, like when you speak up and you say something, sometimes they go with it. Yeah. And I tell people this all the time. I had a representative who's actually a congressperson now tell me that it only takes 2 people from constituent to turn to constituents. He's like, I can now say my constituents have said this because 2 people have said it. Wow. So sometimes it only takes 2 people for something to change like that. And another example is in Albuquerque. These 2 old ladies in Rio Rancho had a big spurt up about the smell of cannabis, coming from the farms. And so now we had a big old thing about cannabis growing and the smell, blah, blah, blah. It only took 2 ladies. And because there wasn't more cannabis people there,
2 Karens, the whole industry.
Yeah, 2 Karens screwed over the whole industry. And that happens all of the time. Yeah. It happens more than I'd like to admit. So that's why I try to tell people, I'm like, even if there's 10 of us that show up, that's more than 1. Yeah. That's constituents at that point. So, make sure you guys are contacting your representatives, telling them, that you support, descheduling, not rescheduling. If you support rescheduling, by all means, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but what we really need as an industry is deschedule. We don't need the reschedule. It just causes more confusion. Yep. We're going to end up with 3 different industries at the end of the day. We'll end up with the 280E industry, which will be still illegal under federal law, under Schedule 1. Then we'll have the hemp, which is already here. And then we'll have the Schedule 3 industry. And so we just have all this other mass confusion going on, because once we added the hemp industry, we kind of started the confusion.
Oh yeah, that's really what was the turning point, because like unless they just deschedule it and just make weed and everything's all good, then that's why all these subdivisions of cannabis that came out of the woodworks are happening now, and then people are going to take the farm bill and they're going to work it into their favor, which is what everyone else does. That's great, but it's like I'm such a big pusher for like unregulated and untested weed is like not weed pretty much to me. Because like, so people are just growing some nasty ass stuff. There's blow over from a farm over. It's got pesticides, it's got heavy metals in it, and you can buy that with no problem and no COA at a gas station. Like that's a real problem.
That is
like that. That's a systemic issue that's happening right now in like the Midwest and like the East Coast and places where there's not a lot of access to it. So yeah, I think they need to get pushing hard on deschedule because until then we're gonna be smoking THCA and THCP and THCO and they're gonna. I'm sure something new is gonna come out next week, and another subcannabinoid that's gone through 5 chemical processes to get there. But yeah, that's my fear, is that there's gonna be like mesothelioma commercials in like 20 years. Like, oh, did you smoke Kmart weed? Were you smoking that? Did you taking blinkers off their cards? Yeah. You're probably not good, dude.
I had this exact conversation with Donnie from Farmers on his podcast months ago, and he said. He's like, yeah, if you took fucking blinkers between 2014 and 18 from a gas station, and it's true.
You're entitled to a settlement.
Exactly. I was like, I agree with you. I see the same thing. 10 years from now, you're going to see that commercial. And I am going to fall on the floor laughing.
Yeah, it's going to happen. That's why I'm not a huge vape guy. No offense to people who smoke vapes, but just, I think flower is probably bad enough I should be smoking. Yeah. And I should get to edibles only at one point.
Yeah. Like, there'll be a point where I'm not going to smoke probably anymore in my lifetime. Yeah. But is it right now? I don't know.
But too many terps to be discovered still. So,
exactly.
You haven't discovered all the terps yet. No,
exactly. True. That's probably one reason why I do love my fucking terps, dude. I love my terps so much, especially my flower terps. Going out there and you see a plant, give it a little touch, you smell. And those terps.
Brings nostalgia. Sometimes when I smell weed, that brings me back to like 2010 or 2012. Yeah. It's crazy, bro. It's like a time capsule. I'm like, I haven't smelled this smell, and it brings me back to like what like concerts I was going to with my buddies back in the day, and I'm like, holy shit, like time capsule.
Yeah, it is. It's like, whoa, this pining really here, it takes me back to whatever this date here.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, it just really unlocks memories. You're like, whoa. It's because, smell and taste are one of the most powerful senses that we have. That they unlock a lot of things in your mind and memory. So, it's one of, no wonder why, we're moving more towards the terps versus the THC, which is great. Thank you. So
took long enough.
Yeah, it did. It took longer than it should have, to be honest. And some people are still fighting it. And now, the fight is the indica sativa thing. Everything's pretty much hybrid. So that's the next fight. But I digress. So we'll finish up on this conversation about the reschedule and the DEA update, and then we'll move on to the next one. Because I just really wanted to elaborate with you guys that yes, Schedule 3 will happen, and yes, there will be a legal route for people, but there still will be illegal activities, which is the adult use. Like what we're doing right now, this will still be Schedule 1 activity because it's not just medical activity, it's adult use. So those of you that are freaking out about this, you'll be fine for the most part. Unless you want to be Schedule 3, then you're going to have to go through all those hoops. Other than that, it's going to be just like another Monday. You know, they're just gonna operate like you normally
Because
would.
if the feds want to come in one day, they could do it.
Yeah,
It's like if they really just snap, like, you know what, fuck cannabis.
Yeah,
Like,
and they reiterated that recently. The DEA said, yeah, we can arrest users if we wanted, but we're out for bigger fish.
Yeah.
You know, we can and we will, but we don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, we're going out for the bigger criminal organizations.
Common sense would tell you, like, like most people smoking weed, you know, are not bad people.
Yeah.
Maybe someone moving thousands of pounds, you know, illicitly. Okay, go for that guy.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Well,
you know, not the guy just smoking it or having a little dispensary in town. Like, that's not a big deal.
They even said, you know, we're not worried about the guy that has a couple ounces.
No.
You know, we're looking for the huge criminal organizations, which thank God, because that's a waste of resources to arrest someone with, you know, a couple ounces, because they spend a lot of money on those raids.
Yep.
Because the DEA, they don't just go in there with the DEA. They take Border Patrol. They take local PD. They'll take the freaking they'll take animal control with them. They'll take a sheriff with them. You know, they'll take
look at the budget. They're like, who else can we squeeze in here?
Yeah,
hey, bro, you want to go on a raid? Come on, let's go.
Hey, rookie, come on. Work at the fire station. Oh,
you're a deputy today.
We deputized you right now. Yeah, they every entity they can think of, they bring when it comes to those raids. So they spend a lot of money. So, you know, going after someone like you and I, a couple ounces, you know, like, it's a waste of money, and it's probably going to piss off the voter.
Yep.
You know, like, someone's going to get mad. Congress is probably going to get mad. You're probably going to get investigated. It's just going to cause a lot of issues. So it's smart for them to go that route. However, they need to remind people where they are. You know, like, we're not there yet. You know, like, so don't be messing around. So that's one of the things, especially, you know, here we deal with the damn border thing. You know, that's a whole different thing that we've been dealing with here too. As for Schedule 3, that may change. You know,
I didn't think about that. Yeah, so now if you're going, but you'd have to going through with a medical shipment, and then you don't see anyone that's a medical producer only.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless that changes, maybe it changes.
So in New Mexico, you can be medical only. You just can't be rec only.
Yeah.
So you're both regardless.
Yeah.
But you can be medical only if you want.
Yeah.
But
it was
who
the
does
point.
that?
Yeah.
But who does that? Because, you know, you're not making enough money. Because some people have tried it, but unfortunately they went out of business because there's only 60,000 patients in the state now, or something like that, or 70,000. I think it was 80.
Dude, we get lucky. 45% of our customers are medical patients.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
A lot of medical patients.
Your medical patient numbers are high, and to be honest, a lot of the shops on Solano are like that. So I think there's just a lot of patients in the area, which is great. You know,
I mean, the average, you should be smart. If you smoke cannabis every day and you're using it medically, like, you know, it doesn't have to be like you're curing leprosy and stuff like that. Like, you know, you really use it like therapeutically, medically. Like, everyone should get their card. You know, unless you're a gun owner, pretty much. Yeah. But if you're not, go get your card. Like,
yeah, exactly. You don't pay taxes. You have more protections, especially from CYFD here in New Mexico. You have more protections with the medical cannabis card. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's just the way it is. That's something that would have to change legislatively eventually. But as a medical cannabis patient, you do get a lot more protections. You're supposed to have like work protections too, but they didn't strengthen that language well enough.
So you can't get fired for like passing a drug test.
Yeah, you're supposed to, as a medical cannabis card holder in New Mexico, have work protections, but a lot of people are finding that language just isn't strong enough.
Yeah.
So like,
aren't you still an employee at will? So it's like at the end of the day, it's like if they're like, I don't like a stoner at my shop, then it's like I'm just
gonna get rid of him. But you know, the alcoholic over there, he's a great guy. You know, beats his wife at night, but I don't care. You know. Yeah. Gino over there celebrating. I'm just kidding. Alcoholic, not beating people. I was like, wait, you proud of both of them? I'm just kidding. I hope not. But yeah, you know, the update for the, you know, for all of this and everything. Sorry, we got off track, everybody. We tend to do it. It's all right. But yeah, the update for, you know, from DEA. It's unfortunate that we have to go this route, but it's an election year too, so things are going to get weird. You know, pending the way the election goes is really depending on how fast this goes afterwards. You know, if it goes one way, we could see it being slowed down. If it goes another way, we could see it being sped up. You know, or we could see it just going on a little steady timeline and not really worried about it, and then it'll get there. My thing is, if it does stall, that gives Congress time to pass bills and to pass something other than reschedule, because we like we just said a little bit ago, there's a lot of confusion going on,
and we've waited our whole life for this. So it's not like why we don't, like, you know, if it's going to be 6 months to a year to even 2 or 3 years, like we don't need to rush something, because it's way easier to amend things on a statewide level than to amend things on a federal level. So it's like if they put some shit in, then it's like, all right, we're pretty much like we're in it. Like,
yeah, no, 100%, because, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, local elections are more important than national, because you can do more change locally than you can national. You know, like you can directly change things. Like here in Las Cruces, they just made it with the shopping cart ban thing. You know, if you have a shopping cart off of premise and you're walking around with it, it's going to be illegal in like October, because there's too many people taking carts. and shopping around. You're not allowed to steal property. That's someone else's property.
Yeah.
And it just, causes issues with homelessness and stuff like that they're trying to figure out. So that's a city ordinance. That's not a state law.
Yeah.
So you can affect change like that directly. So yeah, that's a good tidbit for people that, the national thing, it's a little harder than it is in the state. Here in the state, we got legal cannabis way before we got, federal legal cannabis, which is, we're still kind of waiting on that.
It's going to happen one day, though.
One day. Maybe when I'm 80. I'm just kidding. It won't be until I'm 80. That'll be Texas.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Texas.
They'll have double rocket launchers, though. But you can own 2 rocket launchers, but no weed, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can have a tank, but weed? No. A tank? You want the tank? Take the tank. Don't get me wrong. I want the tank, but I want weed too.
I want both.
Yeah. I want to shoot smoke out of the barrel.
That's the America I'm looking for. I want to be shooting guns, automatic guns, smoking a blunt.
Exactly. That's real freedom right there. So, but yeah, one day we'll get there. But we're just gonna have to vote smart and not vote against ourselves. We're just gonna have to vote for cannabis-friendly candidates. The candidates that are actually for cannabis. You have to put your party aside sometimes, or the colors aside, and you got to really think for the industry and the business that you're in and care for. Or if you're a patient, or if you care about patients, if you want the medical cannabis patients to thrive, you really want to think about who you're voting for. So vote for whoever you want for, but just make sure that you're voting not against yourself. 100%. So
no fun if we have no more weed.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, you want more weed, not less. So we're going to move on to the last one. And this is what I was talking about, with the whole things may change with Schedule 3, but also not at the same time. And this has to do with the Congress having issues with talking about banking. Now, Rep. Blumenauer, a lot of people know who, helped us with cannabis. And I think he even started the cannabis chamber, the caucus in DC. He is really skeptical, or really not skeptical. He's actually... he has a lot of good vibes, I guess. I can't think of the word right now on the spot, but he has a lot of good vibes on the fact that he thinks that Congress will come together when it comes time. Mm-hmm. Because if we do reschedule cannabis, unfortunately, Congress also just released a report that even if we reschedule cannabis, it's still going to have a lot of weird issues with banking.
Yeah.
Banking still isn't really going to be 100% legal, come to find out.
Because why would Bank of America want it?
Exactly.
If it's still federally illegal, or even if it's still like a Schedule 3, even if it's still having on the border, why do they need it? Because these banks are so huge, they have so much cash. Do they really need some weed money?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably not.
Yeah.
Or is it going to affect how everyone else feels about putting their stuff in there? Are things going to get frozen? So I feel like that's going to be a big hurdle. It's going to be tough. But we obviously
100%.
Want banking because what's the point of taxing us if we can't put it in the bank?
Exactly. It makes life easier, tracking everything easier. You want it in a bank, and it's safe. It's a safety thing, and then you can take debit card, and
But now we're pretty much forced to use like local credit unions, and stuff like that. So it's we'll never be able to put something in Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
Well, who do you use if you don't mind me asking?
We use Eagle.
Okay.
Eagle Credit Union out of Albuquerque. They have cannabis banking. They've been pretty easy to work with. Not like we have a lot of options, unfortunately. So that's pretty much the only one that we felt was good for us. But at least it's an option.
Yeah.
And because it's that'd be the hugest fear for a retailer is putting your money into a federal bank and then someone whistleblowing and then they just froze $100,000.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's not, because there's still, even if you put $10,000 in your bank at one time, they're going to look at that and everything. And I'll get to that on here because it talks about it. But in the congressional report, it said that, even if we go to Schedule 3, Schedule 1 and Schedule 3, doesn't matter. The banking is going to be an issue, and they're still going to run the risk of federal intervention, whatever the fuck. However, the federal government did say that actually, I'll read this verbatim what it says right here. So they did clarify that there was a way to work within the industry now due to regulations that they came out with a long time ago. So, however, despite of all of the dissentives, the CRS noted that the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network of the Treasury Department, also known as the FinCEN, issued a formal guidance 10 years ago as to how banks could work in a limited fashion with state legal cannabis companies. That includes mandatory suspicious activity reports, or SARS. That's weird acronym, right? The bank must file under certain circumstances, such as receiving cash deposits of $10,000 or more. So there's that part.
Yep.
At least 680 banks and other financial institutions already provided at least limited services to the cannabis industry as of March 31st of this year. So that's actually, I didn't know that. Yeah. There was that many banks providing services. So that's good. There's more, but they're having to do all that reporting. Yeah. If you put $10,000 in your bank, that's getting
And the problem with that is
reported right
I feel like there's too much left up to like opinion and like it's like, you know, what do they consider suspicious?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you know, what's grounds for being suspicion?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's too loose of grounds where I feel like whoever jumps in first, that's the scary part. Whoever puts their money in first is pretty much got to be a big ass corporate company, because otherwise you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna take a risk and let's just throw what I got in here, and then hopefully they're not suspicious.
Yeah, you know, and I lose it all, and the feds are after me.
Like, or what they're saying is you have to keep depositing $9,999 at a time.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's just the way to do it. It's like
that's the way to go, because right here it says $10,000 or more. You know, and that's, you know, common practice. You know, for the industry now is you don't put more than 10,000 at a time, so you can avoid that.
Very counterproductive.
Yeah, but it looks like a lot have, because the institutions have filed a total of 410,000 SARS and FSEN reports since that date. So a lot of places are doing it, but I don't think they realize that you do the 9,000 to kind of keep that off. Last thing I really want to note on this was they noted that it was unclear out of those 680 institutions that they're working with, they don't know if they're working directly with the plant or if it's ancillary. So that's one thing about this report they don't know. So I'm technically ancillary, what I do in the industry. You're direct. So
they're going to make cannabis related. We still want that.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't know the difference between both. So that's one thing about this report that it's not on there. Is the fact
it's like
that
they just need to make it accessible, so like no one, like they're pretty much making it so people have to go start like shell companies, like move their freaking cash around just to make it okay. Where it's like that's not why we got into the legal business. Otherwise, people would just stay in the illicit market if they can't use their money to bank. Yeah, that was the point. Is like you get into the legal market, so obviously you can serve people on an easier basis, but like you can put your name on it and you can make it a real thing. And it's like until then, it's like we're still living in like La La Land here.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it is like La La Land, because you know it's like legal, but it's not, and it's illegal, but you still have to pay your federal taxes on it. You know, so like the federal government is still making a fuck ton of money off of the industry. You know, they're still getting their taxes at the end of the day. So yeah, it's one of those weird things, like where the hell are we with this? And the only route that we really have, and you know, the report that came out, and even Ed Blumenauer, you know, even though that, you know, he's very pro, and he's, you know, like a puppy dog wagging his tail about this, you know, he thinks that Congress is going to pull together when time comes. Even he says that, you know, it's going to take law changes in Congress for this to really happen. You know, we're either going to have to pass the Safe Banking Act, which passed 7 times in the House, and then every time it goes to the Senate, it just dies. So yeah, it's passed 7 times in the House, the Safe Banking Act. That's crazy. They can't get it into the Senate. They can't get it passed out of committees.
Are they adding too much legislation to it, or too much verbiage to it?
It's just the Senate will not hear the bill, regardless of what they do. And again, it could be the Senate too, but also the committees. You know, the people who run the committees, they schedule what is heard.
I feel like not every issue has to be like bipartisan.
Yeah.
Like some things can just be like good for Americans.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, is it like a left or a right thing? It's like, yo, can we just pass something that's just like
good
for the general people? Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's good for your party or not. Like, it's good for everyone else in the nation. Like, I don't care about your party. Yeah. You know, I care about my people.
Exactly.
You know, that's why we put you here, right? You know, like not to fight for a party, but fight for the people. So that's one thing that, you know, I think some of these people who get so deep into the parties forget is that they're there for the people, not the party. You know, the party is just something that they're a part of. I mean, we don't even have a 2-party system in America. There's so many parties, it's crazy. It's just they make 2 parties the main parties. You know, that you have the Libertarians, you have the Tea Party, you have all kinds of parties out there. You know,
I'm always country over party. You know, at the end of the day.
Right?
Whoever's better for the country, that's like, you know, that's,
exactly.
That's
I have no party. You know, my colors are red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
You know, like that's America right there, not red or blue. So yeah, you know, we have a lot of issues in Congress, you know, especially when it comes to cannabis. Like I said earlier, you know, some of them are starting to attack it now from one side. And don't get me wrong, like I've said before, you know, there's some conservative Democrats who, you know, aren't for cannabis, but they're not like actively attacking it right now. You know, they're not like, oh, it needs to die. But when it comes up, they're like, no, I don't agree with it. You know,
but not like cannabis is the devil.
Yeah, exactly. They're not like cannabis is the devil. But at the end of the day, it still doesn't help us. You know,
I really feel like a lot of these like lawmakers, like they literally like lost like their boyfriend or girlfriend back in the day to like a stoner. And they're like, I'm going to get into law one day, or I'm going to get into power, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop it.
He's that damn stoner. She thought he was so cool.
Who's cool now?
Yeah, right? Some of them do use similar stories like that. Like, I lost a girlfriend due to this. And you're like, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
It's awkward. Don't make us awkward. You're trying to pass a bill, not make me sad. So, but yeah, it's going to take a law change, either them passing the Safe Banking Act, or they deschedule cannabis, you know, or legalize it essentially through making the law process for us to get.
It's either or, pretty much.
Either or, and they've confirmed that, you know, even going Schedule 3 isn't going to help us with banking. And you know, Rep Brundlenhauer, of course, he believes that, we can get it done, because he even said in the article I read that if the Senate version, because they did both, they did a House version and a Senate version. If you guys didn't know, for bills to become law, it has to go through both chambers, but it doesn't matter which one you introduce it to. It just has to go through both. So it can start from the bottom up or down up, or bottom down, doesn't really matter. It'll get to the president's desk if it goes through both. So the Senate version just sat in the Senate in a committee and hasn't gone anywhere. However, the House version, the most recent one, has done the same too. So I don't know what the hang up is right now. So it's passed 7 times, but right now, currently in the House, it's kind of stalled too. So I don't know what's going on. But the banking bill has been there for a very long time. It's just they will not enact on it whatsoever. And we can't figure out. I mean, we all know why politically.
Yeah.
It's all political at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's like, why? We put you here to help the people, and like you said,
I feel like they think that like everyone in like cannabis is like laundering money and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're like you can't allow them to put their money into the banks. What's next?
What's next? Allowing them to have 5 storefronts?
Yeah, like, for real, man. Like for real.
Or what's next? Allowing them to grow even more plants? Like, ooh.
They don't want to see it happen.
Yeah, they don't. There's just that reefer madness thing did a number on us, dude. We're still fighting a lot of it.
It could take more time. It could just be like we just need some just the older crowd. If some older people are liberal and they're open to things, but majority of them aren't, and they've lived through a time where it was just a different time that we grew up on, and it's like now it's like even like my parents, I had to teach them like cannabis was cool, and it took time. It wasn't easy.
Take a little bit of time for me to kind of get my.
I feel like National Geographic did the most work for cannabis.
Oh, they did,
because that was the big thing for like
God.
I noticed for a lot of elderly crowd was like the second they started putting the weed plants on National Geographic, they're like, well, if they put on National Geo, it can't be that bad, right?
Yeah, and I think CNN did another one too. And Sanjay Gupta, he had a whole slew of them, and I think that helped us out exponentially, especially on the CBD. Once the CBD came out, people were like, oh,
that was a really good groundbreaker right there. They're like, okay, like I want the not high part, and then someone's like, I want to get high actually.
Yeah, I was like, actually, I want that. And then, but then we found the CBG, CBN. I mean, we didn't find, but we found the uses for them. They've been known for a long time. They've been
now extracting them and isolating them.
Exactly.
And we can use them.
And then now we're okay. We're going to take this one and this one to help with sleep, but we're not going to use this one and this one, and we're going to add this other compound that's not even cannabis that helps with this, to add into it.
That's my fear. That's my real fear for cannabis, is because like the answers are there, and like the fact that every single individual has a different endocannabinoid system that reacts differently to cannabis, like that's just not good for the pharmaceutical industry. Whereas like you tell me like probably we could figure out like a right dosage of like terpenes, different cannabinoids would probably like fix most people in different ways. He's got to figure out what to feed them. But that's not really, good for, a multi-trillion-dollar industry that's trying to get people pills and keep them essentially sick.
And that's why, certain people actually believe that, the big pharma thing is really more a fear than it is a reality. And someone, explained to me, this a few months ago is, if we didn't see big pharma on the medical side in the medical days already and flooding it, then we're probably not going to see them on the rec side. It just isn't financially smart for them to do.
Or they could already be there. We don't know it.
True. They could be there.
I think they're already in like California, Colorado, and Washington. I think some of those big ass grows. Yeah. I feel like they got their teeth into it.
True. That could be true too. That's something I've thought too. And I was like, well, they could, but just
actually, I don't think they're allowed to legally be in it. So they have to it has to be like a subsidiary or something like that. Like they can't be like Pall Mall can't own a farm, but they could be like these guys that are like.
But the money still funnels to him, and at the end, that's kind of how I feel too. Because when we were just medical, they weren't allowed to transfer licenses. There was no new licenses or any of that. You couldn't. It wasn't like now. We had restrictive licenses before. It was terrible. And the big corporate companies got in through loopholes. They got in through a management company loophole. So that's how, we got through that. So they're going to get in regardless is what I'm saying. No matter what safeguard we put up, they're going to find a way around it. It's just, how are we going to live symbiotically? But to be honest, it may not even be worth it to them,
I feel like it's going to get to the point of like, kind of like 99 bananas alcohol and having like Clase Azul or something like that. I think it's getting to the point where it's like, where are you getting your weed and like where do you get your alcohol? Like, do you go to a nice liquor store or do you go to a craft brewery? Because you're not going to get one of those fruity cool beers over at like 7-Eleven. They won't have it. It just doesn't exist. But if you go to a craft brewery, you'll get that. So I feel like that's where the future of it. I almost feel like it's almost going to be like all micro businesses, like mostly micro businesses, and then a smaller amount of retails, because the farmers are just going to have their own cool little shop. It's going to you're going to like, for XYZ farmer's cool little niche farm where you can stay on his farm and try his weed and he cook, all that shit.
Yeah, go pick your own bud.
Something like that. It could be something like that. And then where, you're going to have your mass corporate grows who someone's got to grow like Budweiser type weed. Someone's got to grow weed on a scale
Yeah.
that's going to facilitate and be able to smoke out the whole country.
Yeah.
And a niche guy can't do that.
Yeah.
And you can't grow cool weed in 500 acres.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist. So it's like, I think that's where it's going to go. I think you're going to have your corporate mids for sure. That'll never go away. And then cool weed.
And that's what I've said this whole time, since we were going legal and everything, in this whole journey, I told them we're going to have the big guys that are growing the mass produced weed that a lot of us don't like, but you're going to have the craft guys. And that's why we really focused on craft in New Mexico and really pushed for it. Because we've been pushing for craft since we were medical. We were trying to get craft, producers for a very long time here. And now that we have it, I am so happy because the quality has gone up. The prices aren't that bad, with a lot of these places. And, there's not like an overflow of just corporate companies.
The quality went up quick in New Mexico.
I'm
telling you, I've been here for 2 years and I would say the stuff I was smoking 2 years ago is like almost 180 degrees turned around.
Yeah.
And I think people like living here or like that smoke around here, like don't realize kind of like what we have.
Yeah.
And they take it for granted because like until you go to any other state where they have legal cannabis, like first off, you don't get to do deli style in many areas. And two, it's like fresh weed in California is 3 months old.
Yeah.
That's like, you get that shit and it's still got, within the last 2 months, you're like, damn, all right, like not bad. Like out here, it's like, fresh weed is like a couple weeks from, getting from the farmer.
Yeah.
So I think like we really have an opportunity to like do something different here. And like the experience here is just really unique. And I think that that's why I like it.
Yeah.
It really is the best. Like you just can't get like an 8 light grow at a rec store. It doesn't exist. Like you can't do that in any other state. Like here, you can like some guy that's just passionate about his weed. He like, licensed out his garage. It's all clean. State said yes. He's just growing some fire. He's got some seed packs he's been holding on to for 20 years. Like, oh, put these into rotation now. Fuck it. And it's so cool. Like it's sick.
Yeah, and that's something, what I've wanted this whole time too. Was exactly that.
Yeah.
That dude that's just good at growing 50 plants, 100 plants. He doesn't want to grow 2,000, 5,000. But what he puts out is just straight fire, just amazing cannabis. And I've seen it here in New Mexico all the time.
Everyone's got a story about a guy they know that grows the coolest weed. It's like some random ass hippie guy you never met. Everyone's got a story like that. But out here, like those guys are actually able to like sell to like us.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, some dude is like, I've been growing for like 20 years. I saw the license was $1,500 for a micro.
Yeah.
Said, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. Now here we are.
Yeah. And now I sell it to the shops over here and now everybody gets to enjoy it, and sometimes I try some of the flower here. I'm like, where was that from? And they tell me, and I'm like, what?
Yep.
The most random place in New Mexico.
We get good weed from Bernalillo.
Really?
There's a company called Stonewolf.
Stonewolf.
And they're out of Bernalillo. I'm telling you, that's to me like tippy top. Like I think that's about as good as it gets because that guy grows like the cool strains, but organically.
Yeah.
So you all see the cool like hype strains, always grown in like really like unorganic elements. So it's like you get like the cool like za everyone wants, but it's grown in like Rockwool and like Athena.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone that grows like that, it's still okay. But if you can get like really cool ass strains and grow it like organically in living soil, that's about as cool as it gets.
You're a good grower if you can grow in living soil.
Hell yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah.
Shout out Carver. Shout out Stonewolf. Like they're holding it down.
Yeah, 100%. Because like living soil is another different animal. Like you were creating a whole symbiotic environment inside.
And the growers are different. Like when you look at a guy that grows in synthetics, like they're more like into the math of it.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like mathematicians where they know like boom, 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 down this, up that, change this, and like they know like how to work with formulas. Like the organic guys, not saying one is better than the other, but it's different because like the organic guys go into the soil, they like freaking touch it and like smell it, they're like shit, it's off.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have enough clover in there. I better plant more, like something like that. Like, oh, better add more, this creature because it does this and this to the soil, or it eats this, or add this plant because it's symbiotic relationship to the root of this. I need this fungus because when it produces, it eats, and then it's a whole system kind of thing. So it's
And you taste that.
Yeah, you do.
You taste it. You really do.
You do. It has that earthy taste, but it's not a bad earthy taste. I actually like that earthy taste. I smoke salts organic, so I'm not like one way or the other. I enjoy both.
I'm not that much of a snob. I'm not like, oh no.
I mean, I'm like, oh, okay, if it's good weed, it's good weed.
Yep.
Yeah, but there is a difference. You can tell a difference, and if you can do that living soil, by all means,
That's awesome.
shout out to him out there, because he's just doing fire.
Yep.
So, but anyway, we got off a little off topic, and I said everything I needed to say. Thank you all again for watching. Thank you so much, John, for joining me today.
Me on,
it's been great. Thank you for for the insight and everything too.
Yeah.
I like bringing other people from other markets.
We could have done a 5-hour podcast. You just I would have kept talking.
Easy, yeah. We could just keep talking. I just thought of myself. I was like, oh shit, we need an episode right now. So, thank you all again for watching. I'll be back again next week. Thank you again to my sponsors, Monster House, where we're sitting right now, Cinder Cannabis, and Turquoise Bloom. Thank you all again for your contributions. Like I said, with your contributions, the show gets better. So, thank you all again, and I'll see y'all next week. All right. Cheers.